You're live, you can hear you. Okay,
Okay, so, can we start from the beginning then?
yes, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, sure. I'm putting you on speaker, okay. I'm pleased to present the financial statement audit, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. The entities we audited were the City of Spencer and the Spencer Utilities Authority. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements on a modified cash basis for the county, including determining that this basis is appropriate for the city's reporting. This includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. We had 4 opinion units: governmental activities, business type activities, and each major fund, which included the general fund and the Spencer Utilities Authority Fund. Our responsibility is to provide an opinion as to the fair presentation of the financial statements in keeping with the modified cash basis of the county, as described in your footnote 1B in your financial statements. And I'm pleased to say that our opinion was unmodified, which is a clean opinion for all 4 opinion units. There were no changes in the financial statement presentation. There was a significant estimate associated with the useful life of capital assets. It's based on historical experience as well as practice by similar entities. The financial highlights of your financial statements. The city's total net position at the government-wide level increased by $150,923. The city as a whole showed a net position of $900, and I'm looking at page 12 of the financial statement if you have them now. It showed a net position of $987,168, which included $716,045 in capital assets net of related debt, and $521,828 deposited in trust accounts for debt service. After subtracting these amounts, the city had a total deficit unrestricted position of $250,705. During the year, the city's expenses for governmental activities were $1,442,422 and were funded by program revenues of $290,327 and further funded with taxes and other general revenues and transfers that totaled $1,162,196. This information is on page 13 of the financial statements. In the city's business type activities, such as, in other words, the utility authority, the program expenses, in other words, the amount that was billed for utilities, exceeded program revenues by $57,680. In June 30th, 2020, the general fund reported a deficit fund balance of $39,175. For budgetary reporting purposes, the general fund reported revenues and transfers less than estimates of $69,705 or 4.2%, while the expenditures and transfers were under the final appropriations by approximately $161,559 or 9.8%. In addition to our report on the and our opinion on the financial statements, we also are required by government auditing standards to also look at your internal control for purposes of designing our testing over the financial statements and not for the purpose of providing an opinion on internal control. So, given that, we did, when we go through and do our testing to support the material presentation of the financial statements, if something comes to our attention, we are required to inform inform you of that. And we did have some findings on, related to internal control. And it's internal control and compliance. We continue to have difficulties with the financial system. There were adjustments to cash that were made at the end of the year. Bank reconciliations were not done timely during the year, and it was difficult for the contract accountant to identify the source of the discrepancies in the financial statement in the general ledger versus the bank statements, and consequently made some arbitrary adjustments to different accounts to correct cash. And when we looked at the system, we were not able to, we saw some items consistently not being recorded, as well as some other items that we weren't able to reconcile back to the bank transactions. So we had findings related to that. There was a compliance finding related to the deficit fund balance in the general fund, which is not permitted by Oklahoma statutes. We also noted in the utility areas that cutoff procedures were not being evenly and consistently enforced, and actually were relaxed in April 2020 due to the COVID mitigation efforts, and had not yet been reinstated as of our field work in February of 2021. In addition, we saw that there was inadequate segregation of duties in that one individual could, in some areas would have responsibility for custody of assets, record keeping for those assets, and reconciliation of the asset accounts. And recommended that the city look at some segregation in that respect. We also noted that there was continued difficulties in the control over citations. When we did a small random sample, we noted that I believe it's 7 out of 20 they were not able to produce. When looking for citations in a sequential manner, and they're not accounting for missing tickets, and there were several other issues associated with citations that was identified in our report. In addition, we've got a compliance issue with the collateralization of uninsured deposits, and the city now is in a position where their pooled funds have exceeded the FDIC insurance level of $250,000 for all accounts under one entity. And since you have pooled cash, your main operating cash is pooled. It's not separated by entity, so it's just one $250,000 FDIC insurance level that you would have for all city accounts that are at a single bank. And you exceeded that in the current year, and we recommended that you look into asking the bank to collateralize those uninsured deposits, or move some of your funds to another bank, whichever you prefer. That works the best for you. So with that concludes my report. With that being said, are there any questions?
Council? I don't have any.
No, I know that Ms. Jackson has senior recommendations. We'll follow up on that.
I have questions if you will.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm just getting to look at this, to no fault of anyone to new here. So am I to understand that we are operating at a net loss?
No.
We're not operating at a net loss, right?
No.
Okay.
No, no. Ms. Elfrink?
It means that you have a deficit fund balance. So if you look at your assets minus your liabilities, your revenues exceeded your assets. So
Ah,
you had, and if you look at it on an unrestricted basis, in other words, the city did not have working capital.
oh,
And it's not, also not permitted, a city, a municipality, or an local government for that matter, is not, permitted to, commit funds or spend funds in excess of the amount that they have appropriated and on hand. And that has happened. But if we look at this year, that, the COVID funds that you received, et cetera, have greatly helped pull you out of that position. And bear in mind, when we're talking about a deficit fund position, we're also including the payroll taxes that are in arrears that are currently, that your attorney's working on settling with the Internal Revenue Service. But, so it was net of those amounts at that point in time.
what is that amount of payroll in arrears, if we have something? I know you said that they're working on something with that.
That's a negotiation, so, we're just getting, that's, and that we gotta, that's a negotiation, that's,
So she can't answer that question?
no, because we don't know. We don't,
I can't call your attention to
She can't call her attention.
note 5 of the financial statements on page 36.
Thank
The
you.
payroll tax arrearage is discussed. We don't have 100% of the information on that.
right,
I don't think anybody does at this point in time.
right,
I can tell you that the amount that we have accrued in the financial statements is $540,404. And, but when we looked at, and this was in September of 2019, so it's old, it's not the current information, but we looked at the letters that the Internal Revenue Service had sent, that total had come to $861,188. But the management is trying to get some of those penalties waived. And so that's why you don't have a final amount yet. You thought of about approximately $500,000 set aside in a trust account from the debt that you issued that will, go significantly towards eliminating those amounts. The amounts that we mentioned in the financial statements do not include the amounts that were due to the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission or the Oklahoma Tax Commission for Oklahoma tax withholding. So that amount that you have sitting in your trust account is a little less than what is accrued here. So there will be, we would expect to see some residual additional amount after that trust account is liquidated for that purpose. But until the IRS makes a final determination as to waiving interest and penalties, we won't have that final amount. But it's probably going to be somewhere in that range.
and what I was trying to say, as far as actual amount, we have we have tried to contact the IRS for, I guess it's almost 3 years now, and they have not, and we keep getting letters, 60 days from now, and that's been going on for 3 years now. So to say what it is.
Mayor,
Yeah.
if I might interject, all the taxes, including workers' comp, other state payroll taxes, and state taxes, have all been paid and settled. The only thing that we're waiting on at this time is to get the final determination from the Internal Revenue Service on what that amount is going to be in settlement, and what we are targeting is trying to get a reduction in the interest and penalties. And the lion's share of every bit of that is interest and penalties. So as Ann mentioned, we have a little over $500,000 set aside specifically for that. And the minute that IRS notifies us that we can begin that negotiation process, and it's expedient for that to happen for us because there are a lot of programs that we're simply not eligible for
Because we have.
because of that issue. And we have been contacting them. As a matter of fact, right after the first of the year, we learned that IRS had totally shut down. They were responding to nothing coming in. And so we're going on 3 years trying to get an answer from them to pay them.
Right,
We want to pay them.
right. So that we can move forward, absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yes.
So ostensibly, if we, she said that we can look for that trust account to be liquidated for purposes of making sure that we take care
Yes.
and hopefully get a great agreement
Yes.
with them in reducing our penalties and all the interest rates. Then my question is, where do we stand as a city then, purportedly?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. First of all, she mentioned the collateralization
Right,
or the movement of funds.
right,
Those funds have been collateralized.
so
As a matter
that's
of fact, that was done just shortly after the first of the year, that you should make certain those funds are.
that they were covered by the FDIC.
Yes.
Right.
The other thing is that typically, from what I've seen, just to give you an example, for the last 2 years, I typically find that we run a cash carryover of about anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. And that is just about every month. And I looked at the past 4 months. That's a solid number. That every month, after everything's paid for, that's what we end up with. The other thing that's really important, I think, to understand in all of this, she mentioned the issue of reconciliation.
Right.
I want to say to you, when I came here, the city had not reconciled in many years. And I'm not going to give the year, but I'm going to say in many years. And we discovered that reconciliations, keep in mind, the city contracts out our accounting.
Okay.
Okay, so it's really important
Right.
to understand. We found some difficulties with what was happening, and that's why on your agenda, I believe it's the next item, we are requesting that we reverse Elfrink, who's handled the last 3 audits. When I came on board, we were 3 years behind. So within 1 year, we had 3 years of audits that had to be submitted to the state of Oklahoma.
Right.
That was done in less than a year by Ann and her team. As we looked at the financial condition overall in trying to come to a place of strength financially, I made the determination and recommended to the council our best position, instead of having Ann come in once a year to do the audit, since we have changed our monthly accountant, let's have Ann do the monthly accounting and then bring in a firm that she has worked very close with to do the annual accounting. Ann and her team is intimately familiar with our finances, and as we've talked about this, and I think we all agree, for us to be in a premier position, we're off of life support. We're moving toward rehab. And the real truth of the matter, for us to get our accounting systems lined up with our data processing systems and our financial management systems, that's where her and her team on a monthly basis will be an incredible value to us. And we believe within the next 3 to 4 years, you're probably going to be in the best financial position of any city of this size at least within this area.
Mr. Long,
Yes,
question.
and I can add to that, we did a re-implementation of your accounting system. It's actually Ken Grayler in our office because we have to separate that function from the audit because we have this audit still going on. But, he did a re-implementation of your accounting system. He worked very closely with staff and in the office. They were extremely cooperative and helpful to him, and they were on the phone daily, and, also assisting in the review of the payroll system that was brought back in-house. And, he had it such that the, bank accounts were all reconciled and caught up for the current fiscal year by the end of March. And now he has it where he's going into your bank accounts. He has yearly access to your bank accounts, and he has complete online access to your financial system. And he is monitoring them on a weekly basis now, making corrections, and has that date reconciled and budget reports out that are reliable, like within a week to 10 days after the end of a month. So, and now that I'm no longer in an audit function, I'm overseeing and reviewing his work, and where there's discrepancies, I'm asking questions and asking that he refine it further. So we're still working on that, but we anticipate having a very quick audit, at the end of this year. Probably by August or September, you'll have an audit issued for this year.
Quick question, thank you for that, quick question. Concerning rudimentary accounting functions, are our staff being trained in that and knowledgeable in that? I hear that she said that they're working with them day to day, and I'm only thinking of, weaning the baby off the pacifier. So is that a possibility? What does that look like? And this is purely, I'm asking.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be talking over someone. It's hard for me to hear you guys completely, but I thought the question was, is the staff being trained there? And as of this last month, I had asked Ken, I said, we're caught up now. It's time to back off, so such that he is just doing a review and reconciliation function. And we would also do your preparation for your audit, the accrual types of entries that have to be done at the end of the year, and prepare your financial statements. So basically, our intention is to train and assist the office personnel in being as independent as possible. And that's very much the direction that we want to go, and I'm overseeing that to try to assure that, and I know that Ms. Jackson is as well, to assure that they assume those responsibilities, and they're doing a fantastic job. I have to say, they're just being very, very attentive and alert and responsive, so we're not having any issues in that regard.
And let me just say that I'm not asking that question because of the I perceive lack of potential in our staff. I've run through them, by them at small occasions, and they are as capable as anyone. I'm thinking just for going forward, just for the city, and moving and training forward as we grow and build. So just want to make it clear.
Just a real quick comment. One of the key components of bringing Dan into the monthly accounting world is the issue of sustainability. And I've got to be straight up with you. When I arrived on the scene, we had the worst turnover rate of any community that I've ever been involved in. There was not an area in this building where we had duty experts on board. I will tell you, within the last year, has been the highest level of stability that I've seen with our employees since I've been working with the community. And I'll tell you, I really compliment because they're hungry to learn. One of the problems when you bring new people on board, they have to have the training
Right.
on our utility system. We did not even have a training component built into our utility system. Well, you do now. So you can't expect to bring people in here and just say, here, figure it out. Because we're dealing with some highly complex, very technical issues in municipal counting, and Ann will confirm this, municipal counting is totally different than any other type of accounting. Because you've got the feds involved, you've got the state involved, you've got audits involved. I've often said, even though you may have local issues, I will guarantee you, your accounting and the accountability that you have to give on the finances of this city are higher than any entity, schools and cities, of any commercial entity.
So I agree.
So sustainability was the key, in my mind, in stabilizing and starting us to move to a position of strength in our financial systems. And I know Ann's on the phone, and I tell you, I've worked with a lot of auditors over the years, and she's the best of the best, and has a true care and concern for this city to get us in a position of strength.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Elfrink. We appreciate you, thanks so much.
Sure,
All right,
my pleasure.
all right, thank you. I'll take a motion for 9.1 to approve the audit from Elfrink and Associates for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 1.1.
Motion, and a second, please. Second.
I'll second.
Motion and second, vote please.
Trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
Abstain?
Vice Chairman Mike Shannon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, 3 years ago, we were in such dire straits. I mean, I don't know, it was just bad. We're talking bankruptcy, can we get a loan on the building, as collateral? All that's turned around now. And it just keeps going up. It's looking good.
Thank you. Okay, 9 point, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. 9.2,